Hi, I'm Brett with the Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and before this episode begins, I just wanted to provide you with a little information on who we are and how you can stay updated on all of our content. This podcast was created to showcase craft breweries and indulge in interesting conversation. We want to help promote a variety of breweries and along the way have conversations ranging from sports to beer and beer to just about anything. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untappd, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Brett.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Chris. And along with us today is our producer, Ricky.
Today's episode, we will be reviewing the Collingwood Brewery out of, you guessed it, Collingwood, Ontario.
We'll be highlighting two of their beers. The first is the Downhill Pale Ale, which is an American pale ale. And the second is the Strawberry Milkshake IPA, a 2019 Canadian Brewing Awards bronze medal winner from their seasonal Freestyle series.
That sounds delicious. So then we're going to round out the episode. And we're going to talk about what we kind of prefer, with our technology, whether it's going to be Apple or Android. So stay tuned. And welcome back, everybody. So we are talking about the brewery itself, which is set amongst the natural wonders of Collingwood, the Blue Mountains, and Georgian Bay.
So the brewers at the Collingwood Brewery pride themselves on producing the cleanest, freshest, all-natural beer.
Yeah, and the brewery is actually located at exactly 10 Stanford Fleming Drive in Collingwood, it's a bit of a industrial area, kind of outside of the main downtown of Collingwood. So if you're ever in the Collingwood area, kind of get out of that downtown a little bit to find the brewery.
And I've never been personally.
Yes, I have been. It's been a couple of years since I've been there. I actually went there for my mini-moon when I got married.
Nice.
So I hit up all the breweries in Collingwood. But this one stood out to me the most, actually. So they have a lot of food trucks available, mostly on Saturdays. Their tap room is open right now because it's blocked from the production area. And also with the whole COVID thing and everything like that, they do have an expanded patio taking up a lot of their parking lot. They're going to have some heaters out there for coming around wintertime.
This guy's just plowing through information. I'm just trying to retain some of this. So, Chris, you haven't been?
I have not been.
And producer either. Ricky
has been. Yep. Yeah. And Ricky, I think he's saying he was there this past summer.
Right.
And he was at that patio, the expanded patio.
But yet didn't bring any beer back for us.
Yeah,
so strange.
That is a bit of a shame.
You guys didn't get any?
Didn't get anything from Ricky. But Ricky does say that while he was at the expanded patio, sitting on a picnic table, and it was a little rickety.
Okay.
Yeah, not so stable. So I don't know. Maybe they should be looking at their picnic tables a little bit. Maybe stable them out.
I'm sure they have. And we didn't ask Kyle, so we actually just got off a phone call with Kyle, who's kind of our hookup with Collingwood. Great guy. Appreciate the time. Thank you for
absolutely
thank you
for scheduling that with us. But I guess it's one thing we should have brought up is these rickety picnic tables. So
you would assume they fixed it by now, because if they hadn't fixed it, you'd think maybe somebody fell or anything like that, right?
Yeah, and to be clear, the three of us are not complaining about that. It's just Ricky.
Yeah. It's just producer Ricky's problem. But I think that one thing they mentioned was the changes to the outdoor patios, and so I'm sure they looked at that, and you kind of touched base on it a little bit there, Brett, with the outdoor heaters. Obviously, those weren't there before, but they are there now. So they've got the three that were out there, and they've ordered a couple more. So,
and for those of you who have never been to Collingwood, the weather up there is kind of hit and miss, if you will. Some days, especially in the wintertime, you can get 20 centimeters of snow, and the next day it could be 10 and sunny, right? So those heaters are going to come in right in handy for the wintertime for sure.
Yeah, and we all love spending time outside, drinking beer outside, and if you can do so, all year long with a little bit of heat, then that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that.
Absolutely not.
That's one thing Kyle was saying too, is just the expansion of the patio, right? So they are trying to accommodate 50 people with the current restrictions that are in place. So that's good. I mean, it's nice to get a good group of people out there, and if they're going to have that patio running, hopefully into the wintertime as much as they can,
sure.
with that weather conditions, that'd be nice. So
So we mentioned that we're trying one of their Freestyle series beers. So maybe we'll kind of touch on exactly what that is. So Kyle mentioned that basically what they're doing with the Freestyle series is they're releasing a beer every quarter. And they're basically a seasonal. And so they're going to be available obviously at the brewery, but also at the LCBOs. So the first one they did was this summer. It was the Hazy Session IPA. And then, like we said, we're doing the Strawberry Milkshake IPA today, which is their fall one.
And the good news is we actually got some insider information today in terms of what's the next new Freestyle series coming out to the LCBOs
Breaking
come
news.
December. Yeah. Tyler, do you want to give away that information? You have the best game show voice here, I think. So
I don't know if I have the best game show voice, but we can.
Well, you've been saddled with that. So.
I think I'm going to throw it in here. I'm just trying to see where the information is located. I can't see it. Fife, pick it up.
Oh, okay, fine. Now we know he can't read. So for the month of December, the LCBOs are going to be hit with a vanilla oatmeal stout.
Yeah, and that's going to be...
'Tis the season for stouts.
It's a great time, and that's going to be available, from what we understand, for about 3 months in the LCBO, maybe longer if your local LCBO, if people aren't picking it up. So
now to kind of reverse the tables, Fife usually talks about the food, so I'm gonna take that from him on this one. And so it is interesting that they're putting out food trucks as much as possible. So they do have a food truck that is out there a majority of the time, which is called Big Mouth. So shout out to Big Mouth. It's nice that you're supporting each other. And they have had in the past Pitmaster. So Pitmaster, they do a bunch of smoked meats. I'm a big fan of smoked meats. And apparently Ricky, when he was there, said the smoked brisket was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
So that's to steal a little bit away from Brett, because we know he likes to talk about his pairings of food.
It's true. I definitely do. You're right.
And this is no quarter pounder. We're talking
but
fine
I don't even
meats.
like McDonald's.
Oh, well. Your belly says otherwise.
It's called pizza, my friend.
Oh,
Pizza. That's the kryptonite.
A mac and cheese pizza. Yeah, we've been there before.
Absolutely.
So do you want to talk a little bit about some of their awards that they've got for some of the beers that they've pumped out?
I can definitely do that. So they have a White's Bay IPA, which won gold at the Canadian Brewing Awards and silver in the Ontario Brewing. I don't know how that kind of happened, but it's obviously differs on what breweries are putting in different things. Yeah. And then their King's Post ESB won gold for the Ontario Brewing Awards. All of these happened in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're putting out some good quality beers.
Yeah, so and those 3 beers that we mentioned are their core beers. So we understand they've added an additional core beer earlier this summer, which was their Sunset Lager. So now they're basically going to have a ton of different. They're going to have, I think it's 5 or 6 core beers, and then you've got your Freestyle series at the brewery. Your seasonal. So there's a ton of different options when you get to the brewery and try some beers.
And when you are at the brewery, they like to collaborate with other local breweries and cideries. So they do have some Northwinds, which is also another brewery up in Collingwood, Duxbury Cider, Georgian Bay Spirits, Black Bellows, just to name a few in terms of the local tie-ins within the community as well.
Right. Trying to really get that collaboration in there. And one thing that they are focusing on in the next 6 to 8 months is really bringing that downhill series back. That's what kind of got them going. People understand who they are for that series and that style of beer. So they're really kind of focusing on that, trying to hype that up a little bit more. And we're excited to get into some of those beers, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also learned from Kyle that they just released a beer last Thursday, their Hasta La Vista Schwarz beer. So
That'd be interesting.
I'd be interested to try that. But it's a dark lager, and apparently they're already basically a third of the way through what they produce. So that's pretty crazy.
People must be enjoying it.
It must be.
I hope they're watching like Terminator and sipping on it and doing like their best Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
I think you have to. Yeah.
The pictures on Untappd.
Yeah,
I'm sure somebody's got to get creative.
Somebody has to do it.
Yeah, we should definitely scroll through that. So. So I think some things that they're working on in the future is like you said, Tyler, really bringing that downhill pale ale kind of back to the forefront and really expanding on just getting the word out about their brewery, because they've been around for about 6-7 years, but in that time we know there's been a huge boom of breweries that have kind of taken over a little bit from their market share.
And not just exploring Ontario, but also exploring the States, overseas. They're looking to really do a big push within the next 6-7 months as well.
Yeah, no, it's good to see. They want to kind of get their brand pushed out into the front of the LCBO. So if you're going to look for a beer right now and you don't know what to kind of go with, I'd say, throw out a Collingwood.
How about just try them all? Try all the Collingwoods that you see in front of you.
Absolutely.
Try every single one of them.
Yeah.
Go home, have your little flight at home, if you will.
For sure.
And then go every quarter to get your Freestyle series beers.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see what comes from the Freestyle series. It's kind of exciting. I always look for a series like this with different breweries. It just keeps you engaged, right? So
absolutely.
You kind of get familiar and look forward to that next one in the next 3 months.
And it's almost like a trial and error basis. So like Freestyle series. So last year, obviously, the Strawberry Milkshake was out last year.
Yeah.
It must have went over well because it got brought back this year.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's all like you can kind of see, okay, does somebody like this one? If they don't, we're not going to bring it back. Try something new. If people like it, it's obviously going to come back.
For sure.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to link some of their information, obviously, through our Instagram, and we do that all the time, Craft Beer Cons. And I think let's try and get into this first beer. So we're going to be looking at the Downhill Pale Ale, and we'll be right back with that shortly.
So again, big shout out to Kyle at the Collingwood Brewery who hooked us up with both beers today and some nice polo golf shirts.
They're very nice. We're all wearing our shirts.
Yeah, we're all wearing them right now, actually.
Fits good.
Absolutely. So the first beer that we're reviewing again is the Downhill Pale Ale. It's their main staple, available all year round at the brewery and in the LCBOs. It has an ABV of 5.4 and 33 IBU.
Yeah, so it's suggested that it's crafted with just the 4 ingredients. It's Downhill Pale Ale celebrates the elegance of simplicity. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of nice. We like a simple beer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So they have American and European hops, which are perfectly balanced in its robust malt character. So we're going to be looking for that malt character when we do eventually open it up and get tasting it. And we'll have to hold back Brett a little bit just in anticipation. So they do claim that there's a full flavored ale with distinct citrus notes. So those are the two things. It's going to be malty and citrus.
Yeah.
So let's see if that comes
we're looking forward to that. And it is also packaged unfiltered. When we tried the Lot 10 beers last episode, those were both unfiltered also.
Nobody wants to buy filters.
I know.
I think that's how it is. It's just a cost saving.
Well, like us, no filter in this podcast.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
We're pretty close to it.
Yeah, getting there.
Well, they do say it's unfiltered for optimal flavor, so maybe that's why the lack of filters. And they recommend serving it at about 4 to 6 degrees. Yeah, Brett.
All right, so using the unofficial craft beer app Untapped, and you can also follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs, the overall rating for the Downhill Pale Ale is 3.48 bottle caps out of 5, and a total of 8,222 check-ins.
All right, I think we're there, boys. So let's...
This is my favorite time.
Open her up! Fife, you're not going to make a comment about the cracking noise?
No, not today.
Well, as people know, we like to encourage everyone to drink your beer out of the proper glassware, and we are drinking this beer out of just a traditional pint glass.
So the pour is coming through. There is not a whole lot of head on this. I want to see if it settles maybe in a minute once I set it down and don't have a sip of it first.
He's playing by the rules.
All right, first time for everything.
Yeah, well, I'm getting a very copper kind of color to it, and yeah, not a ton of head on it, like you mentioned. It doesn't seem to be building up or anything like that.
It's a darker color than what I expected to come out of. Obviously, I mean, out of the can, I would expect a little bit lighter.
Okay.
Because I feel as though the malt is going to come through a lot more than the citrus.
It looks like a beer that's got that strong malt kind of flavor profile to it, doesn't it?
Definitely more than that citrus, I think, because I feel like that would be a little bit of a lighter color.
And I don't want to judge this book by its cover, but I don't know. Looking at some of the reviews, it almost seems like it will have that strong malt. So I'm very interested to see how that comes through.
Yeah.
Going back to the head too from on mine, it does sit and stay there. So it might not be a lot, but it has kind of lingered around a little bit, at least on mine and Chris's. Brett, yours just kind of dwindled down a bit?
Yeah, it's disappearing.
Maybe just the way I poured it. Maybe I had the worst pour. Maybe I had the best pour. I guess
we've been down this road
before. We'll never know.
Groundhog Day almost.
So let's maybe have a sip because I played by the rules. I can initiate let's taking a sip then.
All right.
Let's take a sip.
Right.
Let's go.
Oh, that malt hits you hard. On my end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Definitely.
I'm just looking around to see everybody's expressions as well. Because,
definitely not what I was expecting, I would say.
Okay.
Well, and I think we talked about how it's got that malt flavor and the citrus. Definitely 100% more malt than citrus, but a little bit of citrus, I feel like, on the back end.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and the aftertaste for sure. That's where I'm getting citrus.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Is I'm kind of feeling the same sort of flavor profile, right? Strong, heavy malt to begin with, and then as it settles, you get more of a citrus kind of flavor coming through.
Yeah.
But it is a very simple beer, right? It's 4 ingredients. There's not going to be a whole lot of complexity to it, except for just on how much they want to tweak that malt.
Not a whole lot of craziness happening in this beer, which is perfectly fine. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I mean, I would love to kick back and relax and have this beer on like a nice patio.
Oh,
perhaps.
Heated patio.
Yeah.
And this is one of their staples.
Absolutely.
Right?
You're going to have this there all year round. They're never going to run out of this beer.
Yeah. And if they do, then people are listening to this podcast and all hit the spot up at one time. Right?
Yeah.
It's just an influx of individuals.
Yeah, and in the description we saw that there's 2 different hops. There's American and European hops, which they say balance the malt character. And I think it is, as I drink a little bit more of it, I think it is actually a relatively well-balanced beer. Nothing's really... There is a lot of malt, but at the same time, it's not overpowering, and it is kind of balanced a little bit, I feel.
I would agree with that. I'm seeing a 50-50 split. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the what do I get at the beginning of the beer, the taste, and then what do I get at the end of it. Right?
Now that I'm getting more into it, about halfway down now, I would say that I definitely get more of the hops because I think maybe my mouth is adjusted to the bitterness of the malts.
Yeah.
That now I'm getting the more hops, which is bringing this beer in my rating eventually. I think it's
up a bit.
Up a bit, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that we've talked about numerous times, right? We're not just going to take a look at the beer and say, "Oh my God, this is delicious! I love this beer" on one sip. That's not who we are.
No.
We want to make sure that we get half the beer, 3/4 of the beer, kind of done.
Because we've all had beer
change.
before. First sip, oh, this is good, this is great,
right?
And then halfway, you're like, man, what the hell?
Don't have a sip of this and give up on it.
Also, the reverse, where sometimes you say it's not great after the first couple, and then you keep drinking it, and it really gets a lot better, right?
So going into the top 5 flavor profiles on Untappd, hoppy, smooth, light, malty, clean.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've got no objection really.
No.
The light, I'm maybe a little bit on. I don't think it's completely.
It's not light for me. It's 5.4. It's not a light beer at all.
No, it's definitely not.
But even the flavor profile doesn't sit light either, right? Like because of that maltiness. So I like it. I think it's pretty good. The flavor profiles are what they are. I could see maybe 3 out of the 5 for sure.
Yeah. I agree. Hoppy, smooth, malty, clean. I guess it goes down pretty clean, but you can definitely see that it's a little bit unfiltered.
Right. And when I'm looking at this beer too, it's supposed to be like the unfiltered, right? And it's not. There's no kind of hanging fruit as we've discussed in the past. Right?
No, there's definitely not.
It's not lingering there.
So it is kind of.
But it's not like a lager where you would be able to see right through it, right?
Yep. Now with this too, it's the whole kickback and relax feel. So the polos that we got, 2 of them have the kickback and relax on the sleeve.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're kicking back.
Absolutely.
Kind of relaxing here. Having the beer, it's tied into the can. It's tied into the coaster. So the marketing team has done a fabulous job on this to kind of tie it all together. And
they know what they're doing.
I respect that.
And tied into the area, right? Because Blue Mountain, if people aren't familiar with Collingwood, Blue Mountain is a big ski resort there. I guess it's just a little bit outside of Collingwood, but either way, it's it's a great theme to go with the actual location. But let's take a look at what the Untapped community thinks about this beer before we provide our ratings for it.
Perfect. So the first one we're going to look at is Robert S. Handle is Robert Roxton. So we're going to throw a ad friend on Untapped. Their comment on April 19th gave a nice social distance shout out stating, just nice to relax, which we just kind of talked about, kick back and relax. So nice to relax, easy drinking, in-law, driveway visit kind of pale ale. Robert gave it a 3.25 out of 5. Robert, congratulations for hanging out with your in-laws during this time. We respect that.
Yeah. Especially, sitting in their driveway, keeping your 6 feet from them, but also having a beer.
Having a beer,
right?
Those are the in-laws you want to have. Sorry.
Yeah. I
love those in-laws. Yes.
Absolutely. On April 28th, Sean M., his username is Oldman1. I don't know how old he is, but we're going to assume old.
Yeah.
Stated, the chips were salty during Days of Thunder, so I needed something to quench my thirst. This did the trick. # any reason for a pint. He rated it 4.1 out of 5. I raised my glass to the any reason for a pint.
Yes,
right.
And obviously Sean is a Untapped supporter because he's got the 4.1 rating.
Correct.
So
Yes, he does pay that premium price, if you will.
Yeah. So maybe I'll get us kicked off here with our rating. So I'm gonna sit right at a 3.5. I think for this beer.
I'm just finishing my other sip here, so I'm coming in with a 3.5 as well.
For me, I believe it's going to be a 3.25. It started off, it was probably going to be lower than 3, but now that I'm getting through it, the hops are bumping it up for me.
And producer Ricky is giving it a 3.25 as well, which gives us an overall rating of 3.375, and we're going to bump that up to a 3.5.
Nice. I guess our podcast is probably going to go all downhill from here, because we have another beer to crack, so that's going to come up shortly.
The second beer today is from Collingwood's Freestyle series, the Strawberry Milkshake IPA.
Yeah, and this is their fall release of the Freestyle series. So this one's available at the LCBO too.
Right, and so it's got an ABV of 6% and 45 IBU. So this beer here, it's a bronze medal award winner at the Canadian Brewing Awards in 2019.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's in the New England IPA
I feel as though
style.
we should have got like a fake bronze medal and put it on the picture that's going to be on
yeah.
They should add that to the can. Like
That's true. They should,
right?
yeah.
Put the medals on there just for the next year, sorry. Yeah, so that's in the New England IPA style category.
Yeah, and it's a prototypical hazy IPA brewed with lactose, so that's going to give it that little hazy bit, and it's infused with wild strawberries to give it a smooth drinking taste.
Nice,
so
I'm
hopefully
excited
we
for
see
that.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this beer for sure. The Strawberry Milkshake has an overall rating of 3.60 bottle caps out of 5, and only 962 check-ins, again, because it's a Freestyle series, limited batch compared to the Downhill, which we had earlier.
Right, so before we get into the fun part for everybody, I've had this one before. I believe producer Ricky has.
I have as well, yes.
And then,
Yeah, I'm a first timer.
okay, well,
Yeah.
then in that case, Chris, let's open her up.
Isn't that the best sound? I say it every time,
Yeah.
but really, isn't it?
Except for last time.
Except for last beer, yeah. So yeah, again, we want to encourage everyone to use the proper glassware. So we're drinking this beer out of an IPA glass.
The smell is there.
It's delicious.
I will say that.
And I'll be honest, I poured this pretty poorly.
Have you seen Tyler's?
You know what? So here's the thing about this kind of beer, right? Because it's a milkshake IPA, I enjoy a good frothy head on it to kind of give exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's a milkshake.
That makes sense.
I kind of enjoy that frothiness part of it. So you might look at this and say, "Whoa, Tyler, you really messed up the pour on it." But to me, I'm like, I nailed this pour. Like, I'm excited about this. I kind of want to get.
You're excited
into
about
that.
the pour, right? It's almost like you want to like stick your finger in there and like lick the head off a little bit.
I'm gonna go tongue deep on this puppy. You could better believe that.
Well, it definitely looks like that prototypical hazy IPA. So that lactose is definitely giving it that hazy look.
And it smells like a strawberry milkshake.
It smells exactly like a strawberry.
And I love strawberry milkshakes. That's our food pairing for
There
this
you
beer,
go.
by the way.
Just pair it with the strawberry milkshake.
Is that what it is? A strawberry milkshake with strawberry
Milkshake
milkshake.
on milkshake.
It's amazing how that works out.
Yeah, it's a milkshake inception. So, yeah, no, I agree. It's got that hazy kind of feel to it. I'm getting some nice bubbles straight through it.
Yeah,
Its
this is
carbonation's
nice.
good on it. that could be indicative of the pour.
And I was thinking back to when you said, have we had this beer before? I had the beer last year. We haven't had this year's version of it, so I'm going to be interested to see how it compares to last year's version as well.
Right.
If they've changed anything up or anything like that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Do you have any comments about the can that you want to make on this one,
Well,
Brett?
the can here, it's got a nice pink, lots of layers of pink going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe lots of layers to this beer. We'll see.
Oh, yes, good call. Yes.
Unfolds beneath our
It's
tongue.
got like the mountain kind of scenic with
Yeah.
different colors of pink. And it's also obviously telling you about the beer itself and all the ingredients that are put into this one.
So one thing that you did not mention on that, though, was the Freestyle badge that it has on it. So I'm excited about that.
I missed that part of the can. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, it's a quarter turn.
Yeah, there's actually two of them there. There's actually one here and then the other one.
And on the
So
front, yeah.
if you're looking for it, not only is it the pinkish purplish color, we did this with Waterloo Amber,
Yeah.
can, it also does have the Freestyle badge.
Shout out to Amber, by the way.
Which is also, again, replicated throughout their marketing campaign for the polos that we got. So two of the polos, one black, one blue polo shirt that we got has the Freestyle badge of honor, if you will, on it, which is exciting. Yeah, so it's nice to see the marketing team yet again come through with a whole plan on apparel as well as the canning process.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So any other comments that we want to make about the
No,
smell?
I want you to say your tagline so I can drink this beer.
I don't know if I have a tagline.
Yeah,
Do you?
I think
I think you do.
I think we just got to dig into this one. I'm excited for this one, big time.
Let's get into her.
That wasn't your line. I'm kidding.
What's
It's
my
okay.
line?
I was going back to the opener.
Yeah, no,
we
we've
already
already
opened it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
The fact that the beer is in your hand, you've already cracked it.
you have opened it, you have poured it.
I swear
Yeah.
this is my second beer today.
Now, Chris could say, like, shall we drink or something? But, I mean, let's just get into it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's gloriousness in my mouth.
Wow, this is, like I mentioned, I haven't had this one before. Just the first couple sips, I'm definitely getting a lot of strawberry out
Yes.
of it.
But not overpowering? Or?
Not overpowering.
Okay.
A very nice amount of strawberry. And sometimes with strawberry beers, you don't get a lot of strawberry, which is disappointing because I love strawberries. But this one, you definitely get it.
Lots of strawberries coming through here.
Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
if I can make a comment, and you guys can tell me if I'm off my rocker or not, but if you had, like, an old-fashioned milkshake,
Yes.
To be honest, I don't really like milkshakes. But
to be honest, I don't really like you.
Amazing. I'm just going to say the same thing.
So I think it's very important to note the difference between, and we've talked about McDonald's already once, so shout out to them again. But they have their strawberry milkshake, and then there's like an old-fashioned milkshake that you get blended up in one of those like tin kind of containers. Mm-hmm. That's what this is. So it tastes like it's vanilla based with like hints of strawberry. It's not just any artificial flavoring to it. It is natural. It is pure, and that's what I'm getting with this.
So this is, I like strawberry milkshake beers, and I've had a few of them. The one most compares, in my mind, English is a very hard language for me. But anyway.
I'm just waiting for you to shout out another brewery. Let's go.
I was going to, actually. Thank you.
Come on.
But it's what it happens.
And I know the beer he's going to say.
Yeah.
Exactly. The strawberry vanilla milkshake from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Thank you. That one was a lot heavy on the vanilla bean.
Yeah.
This one, not even close to that.
Very
and for the
well-rounded.
better, for sure, in my terms, because that strawberry, that nice strawberry flavor comes through immensely in this beer.
And the lactose really gives it kind of like, I don't know, like a nice little mouth feel. Like there's kind of, not texture, but you kind of feel that in your mouth. I like that.
Right. And that's one thing I'm kind of comparing what they say about a beer, because that's half of it, right?
Yeah.
When you have a brewery that comes out and says, this is what the beer tastes like, I want it to taste like that. I don't want them
Absolutely.
to hide behind it. We saw with the downhill, the pale ale, we knew it was going to be malty. We knew that was going to be malt forward, and it was.
And it was, yeah.
They say the same sort of thing with this when it comes to the strawberry flavors coming through, and it is. So kudos to Collingwood for, not shying away from it or hiding any kind of flavor profile.
Absolutely.
They are true to themselves, and they're true to the beer, and I respect that.
This is a beer I feel like it's, again, going back to their taglines, because I'm a big tagline guy, being able to kick back, relax, maybe during like happy hour or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a good happy hour beer.
Yeah. And honestly, like we talked about how this beer is a quarterly release in the Freestyle series. That's kind of disappointing because I would like to have this beer all year.
I want to have a lot of this beer.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's nice that we're all on the same page,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes we get varying flavor profiles and it's a bit different, but I think we're all basically exactly where we need to be, right?
I think so.
It's a very true to itself kind of beer. I'd like to say that Fife's halfway through his beer now, so
I'm
probably
actually
gotta
more
catch
so
up a little
taking
bit.
sips of this beer because I'm enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
Versus just chugging it to drink it.
Yeah, and I think on Untapped, so the top 5 flavor profiles on Untapped are hoppy, strawberry, juicy, sweet, and subtle.
Juicy.
Yeah. I mean, I get all of those except subtle. I don't think the flavor is necessarily subtle.
There's no flavors hiding here.
Right.
They're all out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we mentioned, the strawberries there, you can taste it. A little bit of vanilla, like you mentioned, with almost like a traditional milkshake. So yeah.
But I think it's a good point too, Brett, for what you said too, is like you're trying to enjoy this beer and take your time with it. I agree with you, right? Like this is a nice beer that I kind of want to sit back, sip through it while it's cold still, obviously.
Absolutely.
But this is a beer I could have multiple of.
Oh, this is not just like a one and done beer here.
Like it's a good dessert beer too.
Oh.
Like a midday beer.
Yes.
A happy hour beer. A dessert beer. Like
A 3 o'clock in the morning after feeding your kid beer. Like it's great.
I don't have a child.
See, I do. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I would just want to go right to bed at that point. But
You're telling me you've never
Crack a 3 a.m. beer?
crack a beer at 3
Chris,
a.m.?
you've never
Come
cracked a
on.
3 a.m. beer?
to be honest, I have not.
Oh.
In those circumstances, when I've been
To
feeding
all
my
the
child when
parents
she
out
was
there who
young,
have done
no.
that, I salute you.
Not only does Brett, take care of his child at 3 a.m., but sometimes he's got to get up early to make sure he's got that harvest in from Farmer Fife that we had to deal with in the previous episodes.
Right, you're not a raspberry farmer, but are you a strawberry farmer?
Do you field the strawberries?
No. Like, when is strawberry season? I don't
I don't
July?
know.
So we could check off raspberries and strawberries as seasons in which Brett is not familiar with.
The only thing I know is...
Have you ever picked strawberries?
Yes, I have actually.
Okay.
I have actually done that.
Okay, very good.
Probably in the summer, I would say.
Yeah, like July? That's kind of what I said. Yeah, July. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably actually peak June, rolls into July.
That's what I said, July.
Oh, okay, Farmer Tyler here.
Yeah, give me the almanac. You don't have to. I actually
You want to
created
know the
it.
worst part about this is that I actually grew up on a farm until I was 7.
You just didn't actually farm the land.
No, I did not.
But going back to maybe where we would drink this beer, like we're talking about Collingwood, Blue Mountain, like I'm not a skier, but if you were a skier, maybe hit the slopes in the morning, go back to your chalet or something, drink this by the fireplace
have a
or something like
couple?
that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think that would
Before
Buy
you
a
roll into the
six-pack
next
and
week.
crush it.
And
Yeah.
you might catch it. You might actually catch it at a great time before that freestyle series slips over. That you might actually still be able to obtain one of these.
Yes.
Have that during the day, and then get the new freestyle series with that stout.
Oh,
and so
at
that might
night.
be your
That would
evening
be
beer.
nice.
So you gotta get both freestyles. So that's
see
an
where-
option.
Yeah. So why don't we check on what the rest of the Untapped community had to say about this one?
Nice.
So David M, his username is Bookie On. I think that's how you say it. On
Interesting.
October 18th, had this to say: hazy with a fair bit of floating sediment, strawberry in the nose, and hoppier than most milkshakes. And he gave it a 3.25 out of 5. David, I strongly disagree with your rating. I'm just going to tell
Yeah,
you.
and I don't see that sediment floating around, to be honest.
And I don't know, David, but when you say hoppier than most milkshakes, are you referencing the beers, or are you actually referencing
Actual
a
milkshakes?
milkshake? We need clarification.
Yeah,
Could you imagine hops in a strawberry milkshake from McDonald's?
If you get that would be bad.
And then so the second Untapped user, Graham F. Brewmont 56 on January 12th commented, "Tasty, sweet, hoppy creamer. I think I creamed myself with every sip." You know what to say, Graham. Graham gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on this beer, which is interesting.
Good rating. Interesting comment.
The 4.5 might be the taste of it, and the 0.5 that he deducted was probably for the cleanup. So, I salute you. So Graham,
That's messy.
I
Graham.
hope you
That's
enjoyed
messy.
the beer more than you enjoyed the cleanup. Chris, what are you coming in at? 5 bottle caps.
Oh man.
You know what?
God.
Brewmont 56, you're going to be getting a friend
Yeah, he's
request
brewing up something special, that's for sure.
from us.
Just trying to recover from that comment from Graham there.
Clean it up. Let's go.
So out of 5 bottle caps, I will agree with Graham on one thing. I'm going to rate this a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. 4.5 out of 5. That strawberry flavor is right there. A nice hazy IPA, New England IPA, I should say, not a hazy. New England IPA.
Yeah.
For Graham, this baby was hazy. Let me tell you.
It's tough to read after Tyler's comment. I'm gonna say.
Let's not call that Tyler's. Let's call that Graham's comment.
Graham's comment. Tyler's making of Graham's comment.
Yeah.
Whatever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But 4.5 for me.
Yeah. Okay. I think for myself, I'm coming in at a 4.25. I have had this beer before, and the second time around, I've enjoyed it a little bit more than the first time. So I'm going to actually change my personal. I was at a 4 before. I'm going to move it up to a 4.25. I didn't cream myself, so let's just make that quite clear.
No cleanup needed here.
No
good.
cleanup. Aisle 4. Producer Ricky is going to come in with a 4.5. Same sort of thing with my rating is that he was up from a 4.25. So that's interesting to know that we have had this beer previously this year. It's not a previous edition. And we have both upped it the second time around.
Nice. Well, overall, then that's going to give us a 4.4375. Ricky getting real specific with that math, which is going to bump it up to a 4.5 overall.
So that concludes the beer reviews today from the Collingwood Brewery. And don't be afraid to check out the brewery, or if you're in the region, and look for them in your local LCBOs and grocery stores.
Yeah, so up next, we're going to be talking about a preference of Apple or Android/Google products. And Graham, this is the time that you can change your pants. Appreciate it.
So I know this is a huge topic that a lot of people have, like, Coke versus Pepsi, potato. But what do we prefer? Android/Google products or Apple products?
Apple. It's healthier.
It's healthier.
I never ate a Google before, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, couldn't tell you about that. But personally, I prefer the Android /Google products. I actually have both an Apple and a Google, Android phone. So Apple for work, Google for personal.
Same, actually.
So actually, before you continue,
yes.
It's funny because I have the opposite. I have an Apple for my personal and a Android Samsung for my work.
See, I'm the Samsung personal, Apple for work.
Interesting.
This is interesting how it works.
Yeah,
different
so we're the same.
Yeah,
here.
we're the same.
Yeah.
So producer Ricky is taking my side, I think, on this debate here. He's more of an Apple, Mac, MacBook, iPhone, tablet kind of guy. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I just like I like a lot of the features of the Android phones. Putting apps like split screen. I like to do that a lot. And I don't know. I just feel like it's more. It's a lot easier to use. Like, for example, I'd like to close all my apps when I'm done with my phone, so I can just click one button and press close apps, and they're gone.
You can do that on Apple too.
Well,
when did that come?
You have to swipe them out.
No.
No,
you could just figure it out. It's fine.
Okay, how do you figure it out?
Three fingers.
Oh, 3 fingers. That's how it works.
How many tabs you got to open at one time? That's
3 fingers.
That's the problem.
It's not a 1 or 2 finger thing.
No, if you got 3 tabs open, you just do a 3-finger swipe. Thanks for coming.
Really?
Oh, yeah. At least you're not doing a whole fist.
Maybe you just don't know the tips and tricks of an Apple thing.
Probably because I use my Apple work phone like way less than I use my
a lot.
See,
Yes.
and that's the thing is, from my perspective, I use my work phone a lot because I do a lot of work.
Do you though?
And that's where I come from. I don't mind both because when I look at my history of like phones that I've had, right?
Yeah.
I've had Blackberries. Yes. I know that Chris and I had the same BlackBerry.
I had a BlackBerry back in the day.
BlackBerry too?
Love the BlackBerry.
The worst thing about the BlackBerry I had was the BlackBerry Curve. I don't know if you guys remember that or had those phones.
Yeah.
We're before that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was in direct sunlight,
Concealing?
Yeah. But the phone would automatically scroll to the top.
Oh yeah, you got that automatic sunlight scroll at the top.
Sunlight scroll up.
You had to unclick that
You have
feature.
to change that on your
Yeah, it's in the
settings.
settings.
That's
That's what that is.
I was too busy playing Brick Breaker. So
Yeah.
Well, that was all, that's it. So we had the
Brick Breaker was awesome.
on
yeah.
the Storm, the BlackBerry Storm, which was like
Yeah.
a touchpad thing. My touchpad was doinked because I
Yeah,
used it a lot.
so BlackBerry not very good from a touchscreen perspective, but the actual physical keyboard, I
Usability,
really
yeah.
liked
It was-
that.
it was good.
So I'm not a huge fan of the fact that we basically only have one choice and it's touchscreen, right?
Right,
You can't
so-
have that physical keyboard.
For sure, and I agree with that. And I then transitioned, like, I'm a bit of a tech nerd. I'll call myself that, right? Like, I would get a Mac or I would get a PC. I would take off the complete system software for it and just put in like Ubuntu and like just do my own kind of thing, right? For that, and that's I wouldn't run Microsoft.
this is coming from the only guy in the podcast who's getting a PS5.
I am getting a PS5 next week, actually. Yes,
Yeah.
So
I have a
last night-
PS5, I have a PlayStation 2 and
And
a
a 3.
PlayStation
Oh,
3.
wow. Add 'em
So
up.
yeah.
But that was the
Where'd
thing.
you
So when I look at it, is my next phone after the BlackBerry actually was a Google Nexus. And it was a
Right.
good phone, and I loved that. And it used to do things that obviously Apple couldn't do. And I do find that Apple takes from the Android Google side of things a little bit more, so they see what features they've come out with.
Yeah, they
and
seem to
come-
Pretty
lag
much it
behind
seems like
a little
Android
bit.
or Google comes out with something brand new, and Apple's like, "Oh, we need to copy this."
Yeah.
So, like for example, like Google Homes and everything like that. Now there's like an iHome. Like,
Right.
it
Right.
seems like they're copying everything that Google/Android's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And who's the specialty? Like whose specialty is it? Right? Is that Google? Is it Apple? Right now, I'd say Google is doing a better job. But then again, you have Amazon that comes in with their own, right?
For the home stuff.
And I
yeah.
can't say
Yeah.
schmishmexma. I mean, the only reason why I say schmishmexma
We'd have
is
a fan
because
turn on
I
shortly.
don't want my fan or my lights to come on, right? So those are the things. Is it's that kind of like dichotomy between the two products, right?
But how do you feel about like the interface in the product? So, for example, like in terms of going through your apps and opening up your phone, I find that Google/Android. I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 9, I believe. Yeah, Note 9. I should get a new phone soon because my phone's super old.
Me
but
too.
I still like I still like the interface in terms of how smooth it looks compared to an iPhone.
My work phone, it's the S20. I think it's one of the newest ones.
That's one of
they
really
have,
new.
right?
Yeah.
Look at your work go.
What's
Come
that?
in look at your work go. Come in clutch.
Yeah, municipal government. That's what we do. Anyways, so,
I work for a government. I still don't get that.
yeah, I know, but that might just
iPhone
be
6.
personnel.
That's
might
what I
just be the
got,
personnel. But I was looking at it and I couldn't change like the notification noise. Like if somebody texted me, I was like, how do I change? I had to go into each conversation and then change the text notification.
Really?
There is no setting for like email, and if there is, please DM us. Let us know. Maybe I'm just a complete moron. But I tried to find.
I think there is because I mean personally I haven't taken my phone off silent for about 6 years.
Right, no.
But
I was trying to distinguish between an email and a text.
no, I think there
couldn't
is a
find
way
it.
in settings.
You
I
had
couldn't
to go
tell
into
you
each conversation. In the S20, I had to go into each one and change it. And I looked it
And
up.
they-
I tried to YouTube it. I did any kind of forum. I could not find it. Whereas like Apple, I was like,
this
boop, done.
seems like something that's getting at you right now.
No, because I got it figured out. But it
least you
it
figured
was
it
a
out.
pain. I had to go into each conversation and change
Okay,
the notification.
fair enough. And they may have updated that
might be.
on the newest versions of Android. So I think I have an S7. So again, pretty old.
Yeah.
And mine's totally cracked. But I like the way that you can kind of customize they call them the widgets.
You could do that on Apple now.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, but
Look at that.
Wow.
Apple
Yeah.
copy from
That was
Google.
the thing.
So just mention that my phone is really old, and I could put widgets on my phone
Right.
about 5 years ago.
even before that, because when I got my Google Nexus, it
Yeah.
was like a thing. You could do that. You could take like a 360 picture.
Yeah.
Right. You could do portrait mode a little bit ahead of time. Now
So,
you can do that with
for
Apple.
example, I like to have my weather network widget on the front so I can see what the weather is coming up. As well, I like to have the score app so I can just see the scores of sports that are happening right now. I don't have to actually open
have
app.
the score app.
Oh, it's amazing.
Just to see if the Patriots are winning and like those stinky Bears.
oh,
What?
Losers.
The score was like a thing like 10 years ago.
yeah, but that was the channel. The app is really good.
Yeah, like Tim McCall, Sixera, they're all at Sportsnet now. Like that all was a whole transition
right.
there.
But the app
The score
is
is not
really
a
good.
They're not
Anywhere in my
even.
eyes.
They're not even there. It's Dan Shulman who's been taking over the studio.
That's true. They're still at home. That's right.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, so I know one thing that obviously, as beer drinkers and untapped users, we like to take photos of our beers.
Mucho pictures.
Other than that, I don't really take a lot of pictures, to be honest with you.
I just take a lot of blurry ones. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
75% of my camera roll is either beer pictures, selfies with my daughter, or
pictures with your wife.
Pictures with my wife.
His wife.
That's more. Very nice. It wasn't very good, but very nice.
You snuck your wife in there in this episode, eh?
Well, that's why they have a kid.
Yeah, from Borat.
Yeah. But I guess my point is, I don't need like an amazing camera. I know a lot of people love the cameras, but as long as it takes a decent picture of the beer, I'm good.
You know, at the end of the day, all that matters is that you're taking pictures of beer.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%. All right, so we're gonna hit you with our farewell. Thanks for staying tuned during this whole episode. Appreciate it.
That's all the time we have for today's episode.
Thanks again for listening, and keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode.
Make sure to tell your friends, family, and Graham's dry cleaner. Hope you're having a good time.
So from all of us and producer Ricky, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris.
And together we are the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.